All right, welcome to Mr. Nelson's YouTube videos. All right, so what we've been learning about is we've been learning about proportions. And I feel like what we struggle with the most is our percent proportions. And so I wanted to make sure that I did a nice video with some good questions for you to look at and for you to understand. Okay, so what we've got here is we've got a nice little table. And in our table, it tells us Kathy's clothing. And we've got a question along with this table. It says, Joe recorded the percent of each color of clothing at Kathy's store. So in the table, we've got 4 different colors of clothing that he recorded percents of each. If there are 150 pieces of clothing in the store, how many are orange? All right, so first you have to set up your proportion. Remember, set up your percent proportion. This gives us percents. And if they give you a percent, you need to set up your percent proportion. Remember, always in a percent proportion, there is 100%. 100 on the bottom, and you know that your percent is on top. So, it's asking you for orange. How many orange there are? It tells us right here the percentage of orange is 20%. It also says if there are 150 pieces of clothing in the store, so we have to think, is that part of the clothing in the store, or is that all of the clothes in the store? So is it part or whole if it says there are 150 pieces in the store? Well, that's my whole, 150. There are 150 pieces of clothing in the store. So I'm trying to find out what is 20% of 150. Okay? All right, so let's look at this. We've got our percent proportion set up. I'm going to transfer it over to this next page. Okay? We've got 20% over 100, and then we've got 150 for the whole number of clothing. Okay, I taught you that you can either find out how to go from here to here. What would I do to 150 to get to 100? Oh, wait, sorry. What would I have to go to do from here to here? How would I go from 100 to 150? Okay, or I taught you this part. It's what I call the high heel method. Okay? Basically what you're doing in a high heel method is you're making an algebraic equation. But I'm not going to teach you that part yet because we're not there. But I did want to teach you how to do the high heel method. So you multiply 20 and 150 and you divide by what's left. But before you even start your high heel method, you can do something which is called simplify. So we've got a fraction here that I can simplify. It's not going to end up changing our answer. So if you're worried about that, you don't have to worry about that. So what can go into 20 and 100? Well, you can divide 20 by 20 and 100 by 20. And so you end up with 1 over 5 equals 150. Once you're there, you can probably go from 5 to 150 and 1 to here. But let's do cross multiply and divide. I cross multiply and divide by what's left. All right, so we can probably figure that out. 5 times what equals 150. 1 times what would equal here. So let's do it that way. I know that 5 times 10 is 50. So that's going to be 5 times 20. 5 times 30 is my guess. So let's check. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 3 is 15. Absolutely worked. So if I do it on the bottom, I have to do it on the top. Okay? 1 times 30 is 30. So 30 is 20%. Well, let's check with my high heel method. 150 times 150 times 1 equals 150. 150, you divide by what's left. So we divide by 5. 5 goes into 15 3 times. Subtract. 0, 0. 5 goes into 0, 0 times. So 30 is what we got for both answers. And so there are 30 pieces of orange clothing. All right, let's look at the second percent proportion. It gives you percents. You can see all these percents. So if it gives you a percent, you set up your percent proportion. Okay? Remember, there's always going to be a 100 in your percent proportion. This only works if you have percents. This is the only way you set up percent proportions. It's only for if they give you percent or ask you for percent. All right, so it says Jaden has budgeted $320 on lodging. So I've got to look over here. Here is lodging. It says that 32% is lodging. Now, is $320 his total budget or just what he has for lodging? Well, it's only what he has for lodging. So, is that part of what he budgeted or the whole budget? Well, that's part of his budget. He only budgeted 32% for lodging. So that's $320 for lodging. So I've got it set up. All I have to do is solve from here. Okay, so we're going to put it on this 320, 32% over 100. Because remember, this is our percent. All right, so just like on the last one, we can simplify this fraction on this side. Okay, you don't have to simplify that fraction. You can solve it the way it is. So let's see if we can solve it the way it is. From 32 to 320 is times what? Well, times 10. Okay, because 10 times 32, 0, 0. Add a 0 placeholder. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 3 is 3, 320 when we add it all up. So 32 times 10 is 320. So what I do on the top, I have to do on the bottom, times 10. 100 times 10, 100 times 10. 0 times 0 is 0. 0 times 0 is 0. 0 times 1 is 0. Add a placeholder. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 1 is 1. So we add 0 with 1,000 and you get 1,000. Okay. You can do it that way, or you can do it with the high heel method. Whichever way you want to do it is fine. In this case, the high heel method will be a little bit harder just because you've got a little bit bigger numbers. Okay. So high heel method, you would do 320 times 100. 320 times 100. I taught you guys a trick on how to do this, but if you don't remember the trick, you'll have to multiply it out. 0 times 0 is 0, 0, and 0. Then we got our placeholder. 0 times 0 is 0. 0 times 2 is 0. 0 times 3 is 0. Then we've got our placeholder. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 2 is 2. 3 times 1 is 3. So you get 32,000, or 32,000. So 32,000 divided by 32. 32 goes into 32 one time. Subtract. You get 0. Bring down a 0. 32 goes into 0. 0 times. Bring down a 0. 32 goes into 0. 0 times. Bring down the 0. 32 goes into 0. 0 times. So you get 1,000 both ways. So she budgeted $1,000 for her total budget for this. Okay? So the two things that we learned or looked at in this video were these two, a table and a pie chart, and using the information from those two things to set up our percent proportion and solve. Remember, there are two ways you can solve a proportion. You can find out how to go from 32 to 300. You multiply it by 10. Or you can do your high heel method where you multiply 100 times 320 and divide by 32. Later on, when we start getting into algebraic equations, I'll show you why that's true. Okay? Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Happy Halloween.